tell her. Okay, Dad, go ahead.
Well, did you ever hear about the guy that went to the hospital to have his appendix out?
Mm-mm.
No, this guy goes to the hospital. He had appendicitis, so he went there and they're going to take his appendix out. And so he had supposedly he had his appendix out, and he wakes up and he's in intensive care. And he thought, my God, how come I'm in intensive care? I just had my appendix out, you know. Well, the doctor comes in and said, you know, Mr. Kingsley, I've got some good news and some bad news for you. And he said, well, what's going on? I'm in intensive care. And he said, well, that's what I want to tell you. He said, you want to know the good news or the bad news? And he said, well, you might as well tell me the bad news. He said, well, we got you mixed up with an amputee. And he said, oh my God, what do you mean? You cut my legs off? The doctor said, yeah, I'm sorry, but that's what happened. He said, well, what the hell's the good news? And he said, well, the guy in the bed next to you wants to buy your shoe.
He could not get through that for years. He laughed so hard.
That's your house.
I never thought it was funny.
That's about as the Southern gentleman who goes into
I think
have a
it's funny.
surgery and he's wearing a suit and tie for his surgery. And the doctor's like, well, why are you wearing a suit and tie? He says, well, it's going to be impotent. I want to look impotent.
Dad, please, please.
Okay, Con, get it over with.
What? I don't
This
remember
is the
that
last
joke.
time you have to tell it. Here we
I
go.
don't, but now I don't remember it.
Yes, you do.
You
Come
sure
on.
do.
Well, this
Make him
young
another drink.
man, he's walking down the street. He's looking for a job.
This is
He
great.
hasn't had a job. You know, he's
Love this job.
fresh out of college. He hasn't had a job, and so he's walking by this Bible store, and there's a sign on the store window: Bible salesman needed. So he thought, well, I'll go in and see what I can do. So he goes into the store, and he walks in and he said, I am here to apply for the Bible salesman's job. And of course the owner, he's thinking, good God, you know, what am I going to do? He said, how am I going to tell this guy? He said, so anyway, the guy said, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think you sell Bibles. And he said, well, just give me a chance. So the owner said, well, what the hell? I'll give him a chance. So he said, okay. He said, I'll tell you what. I'll start you out. I'll give you a dozen Bibles, and we'll see how you do. Well, about 2 hours later, guy comes back, and he says, the owner says, I need more Bibles. The owner said, oh my God, why do you need more Bibles? Did you sell all 12 of those? Yes, sir. But I need more than 12 this time. So I thought, well, what the hell, I'll give him 25. So he gives him 25 Bibles. About 3 hours later, the guy comes back, and he says, the owner says, I need more Bibles. And the owner says, good God, you sold all those Bibles, all 25 of them? And he says, yes, sir. I sold every one of them. And so the owner said, oh, that's fantastic. He said, okay. He said, how many you want this time? He said, why don't you give me about 100? The owner said, what the hell? Give him 100. But he said, first of all, before I give you those 100, how in the world are you selling so many Bibles? And he said, well, what I do is, he says I go up to the door, and he says I knock on the door, and when the lady comes to the door, he says, I say to her, lady, would you like to buy a Bible? Or would you like for me to read it to you? It's such a